Osiris.
This podcast is in the Loop, the Legion of Osiris podcasts. Osiris is creating a community that connects people like you with live experiences and podcasts about artists and topics you love. Get in the loop at osirispod.com.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to Guitarcast. This is your host, Andy Keithley. This is episode 35 with guitarist Ty Hughes. Ty's an old friend of mine who I always make a point to go and see anytime I'm in Denver. So this was recorded last weekend, and we talk a little bit about his role with the School of Rock Denver, where he's the music director, and every year they put together a show for Red Rocks. He talks a little bit about meeting Jack Black, also with the School of Rock. And we also talk about Tnertle, which is a Denver-based live EDM band that Ty plays guitar in. So here comes my recent conversation with longtime friend and guitarist Ty Hughes.
But it also does create that sense of, you know exactly how the show is going to go. And when it's successful, it's like, nice, did it again, nailed it. Like it seems to me like building a giant Lego castle every show and getting every piece correct every time. That seems more precarious to me than not being overly planned.
Yeah, so we're talking about Tnertle, the band.
A little bit,
Denver-based band.
Denver.
Tell us who you are and what's your deal, man?
So... Oh, we're starting. We press play. Always press record.
Always
record. Can't believe we didn't record that whole first hour. But yeah, I'm Ty Hughes. I am a music director at School of Rock in Denver. Working with Metro as well with one of their new music programs. Do a little volunteering here and there. Basically, teaching and guitar is my gig. So
yeah, and
Tnertle,
we met back in the day at Berklee College of Music.
Back in the old day.
A band called Southbound Underground.
Which was a Wednesday, we decided that.
I think it was Wednesday. The Southbound Underground thing was such a throwaway band idea. It was just like, I guess. Like,
I did, it was dope.
It was so much fun.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was an I guess thing as far as I'm concerned. I was like, mandolin? Yeah, that's got strings. I'll do that.
Yeah.
There's no problems. What are you worried about?
This was way before I had gotten into like the academic study of bluegrass.
Right.
And it was just fun at that point.
Which was funny because when I came back a couple of times and said, oh yeah, I'm studying bluegrass at Berklee. Like, isn't that a jazz school?
Right.
Why you learn that hick music? I was like,
right around that time, like 2004-05, Berklee was becoming
far more contemporary and modernized
and all these bluegrass players started amassing at Berklee. Yeah. And we have all these great fiddle players, and you have some banjo principal students that started to show up. But I remember starting that band with I had some friends that played, we're in music school, let's do a band.
Let's do it. The game was on.
And it was great. I mean, we played a handful of shows, but the coolest thing I think that we did was go out to Alan Evans' house
That was so lit.
Alan Evans from Soul Live. We went out to his house in South Dearborn, Massachusetts.
What a guy. What a bunch of guys, but what a guy.
Yeah. Really made us feel at home. We cooked a bunch of food that day. And
it was such a sweet time.
Recorded, and they had the house ready for us, but...
As I recall, we pretty much went in, threw down hard, and that was about it.
We knocked it out for sure.
It was like a one-take Jake scenario almost for the whole session. That was a very unique experience.
Yeah.
Just about everything that could go right went right. I think that's where
it was one of those very smooth sessions.
All the good
the vibe was fucking on point that day.
It was wicked.
So when did you come back to Denver from Boston?
I reckon that must have been about a year after I graduated from Berklee, which was, I kind of jumped in like with all the extra credits and stuff. Not extra credit, but like gen ed's done, so I kind of jumped ahead almost a year and just knocked it out a little bit quicker than everyone I was playing with. So I got to hang out while they were all finishing up and keep doing bands. You were in one of them, Southbound. There was that. There was Kumatage, which
that's right. Yeah,
we had AJ and Sam and Brady. That's right. I think it started as me and Brady and AJ. Well, really, it was maybe just me and AJ first, just hollering at each other like from living in the same building, just making all kind of noise and racking. Like, let's get a bass player in here and make this sound like something, and that's kind of how that started.
I still see Sam and AJ pretty regularly.
I was going to say, I haven't seen
they both
these
live
guys for a minute.
Like on my block in LA.
There you go. Well, it was dope. I saw Sam like a year-ish.
Sam just had twin girls.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, we're kind of getting a new band together. It's me and Sam and AJ, and then...
No way. Why is this the first time I'm hearing about this? Are you guys hearing this right now?
It's marinating. It's like in the incubator right now.
All right.
We've been meeting out at this like jam house in Topanga.
It's classic.
Topanga Canyon. It's just this beautiful little house in the woods up in the canyon.
Topanga, classic Boy Meets World character.
Yeah, and we've been making some music out there, so it's always good to see those guys.
That's awesome. Now you're gonna have to show me what happens.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Send me that link.
So how did you get linked up with the School of Rock?
I basically just came back to Denver because we all had kind of figured. I reckon Brady was going to New York. AJ was sticking with Boston. Sam had kind of his own gig going, so it was just like that time. It was like, all right, time to split some different directions. Headed back, not really with a plan, just to kind of start something. Start teaching was kind of my first idea. It was like, that's a pretty typical thing to do once you've learned all of the stuff.
Yeah.
And how to,
and
play
then
it and explain
regurgitate it onto.
Yeah, and then you know it better. And, this will be one of those things where I learn more from you than you learn from me scenario. Well, now I'm on the other side of that. So the teaching thing just turned out to be what I ended up doing, I guess. I wanted to come back and play a whole lot, did that. But such a massively changing scene that it was just kind of like, there's almost too much going on at once to keep up. So I really focused more on teaching, getting School of Rock Denver going with a couple of people.
And School of Rock Denver is like the premier School of Rock.
Yeah, that's the flagship one for Colorado, at least. That was the first one here, and then
was it at that elevated status back 10 years ago?
I think it was on the East Coast. Maybe it was. Yeah. That was the first one out here. I don't think a lot of people knew about it as an entity, as like an actual place where you can learn. But the movie. So that helps.
Did a lot.
I think that has followed most of my statements about it. It's like, School of Rock? Like the movie.
Just like the movie. But, I mean, you how many times did you play at Red Rocks? I mean...
Oh, yeah, those guys, so they got a cool situation now where School of Rock Colorado goes up to Red Rocks every year. And I tell you what, this year we got tsunami'd out. We still played, didn't get the full set. That set list takes months of planning.
I'm sure,
you get it down to like the 5 seconds. Like, all right, you guys run on stage, and then you haul ass off stage.
So what does that night look like? Is there other acts?
So we opened for a movie. They do what's called Movie on the Rocks. Okay. We've had this year was Billy Madison. No, it wasn't. It was Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore.
But
right?
You were there. What are you doing? Happy riding the bull.
Man,
so we did that one this time. It was like Jurassic Park before that. The year before that. Princess Bride at one point. All good stuff. So basically, there's like a movie that they show when it goes dark at Red Rocks, which is around 9:00 in the summer. So they'll always have an opening band and like an opening comedian. Because logistically, getting that place to turn into a movie theater after it's been a concert venue is a lot of work. And getting it done in about 15 minutes takes just down to the second planning. So we're kind of on that with all of our students. I think it's probably 50 plus kids that end up playing that stage, and we end up stage managing that. And it's, while it is a bit of a circus because of the amount of people, it's the best of the best of all the schools. And they're really just bringing their A game plus A plus. It's like the
Red
gig
Rocks.
Red Rocks. Exactly.
Like you live here and you played there and stuff. But it's Red Rocks is this.
I try to tell that to the students. I'm like, you have
special place.
A really clear path to being able to play on that stage that a lot of people spend their entire careers and lives aspiring to get to. It is one of those places where once you've been on that stage and there are people in that audience and it's sold out, that changes you as far as being a performer. I like to say if you see a band at Red Rocks or you see your favorite band at Red Rocks and it's not the best show you've ever seen in your life, your favorite band probably sucks. And even if they do, they're still going to put on their best show almost all the time. I can't say I've ever seen a bad show there.
It's just a perfect environment to see music.
It really is. And I think it just brings out the best in whoever's performing there. For the most part, it's pretty well unmatched. But, you know, a large population in Denver is, that puts restraints a little bit on all the fun you can have, because some people come in and, you know, that can get ruined pretty quick when everyone gets real excited about their first Red Rock show. So, you know, there's been like issues with the town as far as how loud you can be. And,
really?
And, well, you know, EDM is a little different style of music. There's a lot bass heavy sound in that. So, you know, I think they're concerned about the actual bass waves affecting the integrity of the park, and that's not unvalid. That's totally a thing. So,
but yeah, so that's one of the amazing things that's happened in your musical career.
Something unexpected that all of a sudden, became a thing. Oh, we're doing Red Rocks every year. I'm running a band of it, or stage managing it, or performing on it. That is something I always look forward to. One of my favorite parts of summer, realistically.
I know that with the School of Rock on like a morning news thing or something, you got to hang out with Jack Black.
Right, yeah, he was promoting Jables. Good old Jables came through town. He was promoting, what movie was it? Goosebumps. Classic at this point. And we got asked to come on in and it was down the street. The studio was down the street from the school. So we had a couple of our kids learn a couple of Tenacious D riffs. Just a few
sanitized.
The sanitized version. I mean, just, a few little clips to play him on and off as he just kind of did. And I got to say, like, people are afraid of meeting their heroes or celebrities that they really like, because they don't want that fourth wall to come down and realize,
it's just
Jack Black is like better than like he's exactly how you hope he is and more. He's just like one of the nicest people in the world, and was super stoked as soon as you realized, oh, you School of Rock guys? These are your guys? That's bam.
Obviously.
Beeline right over to him. Yeah. It's a fun entertainment thing.
And then what it like resulted in with the culture of like, hey, kids can have fun with music.
There's the fun thing, is that actually School of Rock started before the movie was a thing. Yeah. So it was about the guy, but at the same time, people are way more aware of it. There's a School of Rock musical. There's a TV show on Nickelodeon, I believe. It's a thing. It's a massive brand, and it is also essentially kind of considered the first place people go to learn how to perform live in a band.
I really wish I had known about something like that when I was, at that age. Yeah. I was in the jazz band in my high school, and I had like my band with my friends, So I was getting my playing in, but we didn't really have much guidance. It was more like, let's go, what's everybody listening to?
Right.
And let's try and like pull this from here, but we didn't really have any real guidance as far as like, hey, do this, don't do this. You're playing this wrong. Don't act like this on stage.
Probably the most important lesson. Yeah, I'm lucky than that. I came up in Denver playing with Danny Masters and his band. He was one of my teachers, really one of my mentors, and still pretty much is. Phenomenal guitar player, classical, and rock and metal is what I started off with, and it's certainly his gig as well. So, I got lucky in that playing with people who were way older than me, who had way more experience, who knew, like, oh, hey man, like, and by the way, do this, oh, here's your volume, like this room sounds like this, or whatever it was. Just little things you pick up.
Pull your cable up through your strap, because if it gets pulled out on stage,
it's every day.
That might seem like common sense now, but there was a time when that was like a mind-blowing concept. It's not,
because again, I say it every day to at least one person, or one kid who's performing. And it was really cool to have the actual experience, and now we're basically bringing that. And it's not just School of Rock either. It's music programs in general are becoming far more performance and integration based, as far as like you learn your material at home, But then the whole point is to go play with other people of different skill levels. So if you're really good, you have to play with some of the beginners. You're beginners, you play with the people who are really good, and you both kind of have to get to the point that we have this song performable now.
Yeah, and that's very much a microcosm of what it is like to play in bands in real life. Like, you sometimes are playing where you're the hot shot at that particular gig, and then sometimes you're surrounded by...
Learn to be, humble, have humility, learn from everybody, be patient,
And how do you
in music, that's number one.
How do you get the win with whatever combination you're playing with? A big part of playing music and learning an instrument, you spend all this time on your own, shedding, and you're playing. You might have some things down. You might need to work on some things. All of that still means nothing until you play with other people in the same room.
Exactly.
If you have the best jump shot, but you've never played 5-on-5.
Right. Yeah, the whole thing is to be able to play different styles, Nowadays, and it's not just now, but it's even more so prevalent where I feel like you can't just do one thing. And if you're going to do that, you better be the best at it or really close to being the best. It's more fun, I feel like, to be a more functional player by not only playing other instruments, but just having a broad listening and playing style and experience, I guess.
Yeah.
Support for this podcast comes from Zuri Food, all natural, all human-grade dog food, offering 4 different diets to optimize nutrition for your pup, and now 2 different kinds of dog treats as well. Visit www.zurifood.com today to order yours, because pups are people too.
That is the fun part about music, is that there is always a way to start from scratch in a way, but without having to start from scratch. You retain all the knowledge you already knew, so there's a certain amount of speed to it that you start to understand is simply the amount of time you spend doing it, and you realize that music really is a language entirely on its own, and your brain basically remembers it the same way. You read it and write it somehow, you speak it, you sing it, and you play it. You have to interpret what you hear from other people. So it really does use all the same faculties as a language, and you really can't be fluent unless you are consistently and always using it or surrounded by it. You can't, say you can't do all your practice or you're running for a marathon practice on one day out of the week. It's got to be every day. And it has to become familiar and routine to a sense that it is second nature and that you hear it and understand it as such. So
I remember at Berkeley, Victor Wooten did a little masterclass thing.
Indeed.
About 30, 40 people there maybe. And it was really mind-blowing. He played, but it was more of him just talking about bass and
poignantly,
and dropping bombs.
Unlike our, this discourse, which is, far more rambless and such. No, it seems.
But that's one of the things he said. He said music is not like a language; it is a language. Mm-hmm. And he went on to talk about if you're performing, you're having a conversation with your bandmates and with the audience, and if you're just like we were talking about. As a language, you have to practice it, you have to speak it. I'm not going to learn Spanish unless I'm speaking Spanish every day. You've got to play as much as you can by yourself and also with any kind of band or group, because your vocabulary and your communicating that language will just be stronger. And when you communicate, people will comprehend it. That's really all you're trying to do is play music that's comprehensible to your audience. If your audience doesn't understand what's going on, it's either really good or really bad.
That is part of the struggle, right? You want it to be listenable and something that is memorable to a sense, but you also, as a musician, you want to have creative license to, have a little fun. And I like to consider, back to the language thing, if you can make jokes with your instrument, if you kind of play with things that you look at the band or you see it in the audience and they recognize maybe you threw in a lick from...
That's why I love Fish. It's all inside jokes, every song.
Very much musical inside jokes and musical banter, and that goes to an extreme. Not everyone loves Fish or the style of consistently playing like that, but even in the sense of, simple just simple nods here and there, musical cues and things. It's like, oh, I saw what you did there. You know, that is something that is only understandable by people that perform consistently, or at least have. And that's the fun of playing live music, I feel like. So, while the massive amount of rehearsal and preparation and stuff that goes into some of these massive tours, there are, even in those cases, some things that will only happen that one night. But it's a lot more fun when you're kind of expecting it, I think. And it's not a technical difficulty.
Well, we were talking about Tnertle a little earlier, but tell me a little bit more about that band.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Live EDM, I guess, is the way to describe it. It's a dance music. World music is probably, I think that's apt.
What's the instrumentation? There's 47 players in the band?
there's 82 people in the band. And every day we all switch shirts,
Yeah.
Let's see. So we got a horn section, about a three-piece horn section. Actually, that's not fair because Leah plays like 3 horns herself. So she plays an iwi.
All at once.
Right, yeah. Which is an entirely other scenario. She plays an iwi, which is an electronic wind instrument. So it kind of...
That's cool.
Yeah, it looks weird. It looks... I'm not going to say what she calls it, but actually I am going to say it. It just looks like an alien dildo.
Okay.
To be
Probably
fair,
sounds like one.
To be fair, robot alien.
Okay,
all right?
gotcha. We don't want to be...
It's like an organic biomech type of scenario. You can't.
Does it light up and stuff?
It's got some switches and
Is
stuff.
it a saxoboom?
It's really close to a saxoboom, actually. Back to Jables. I like that. That wasn't even a turnaround.
So you have a saxoboom in the band.
So there's a saxophonist, iwi, right? Which it does have some of those sounds.
Yeah.
It is pretty incredible the stuff she can do with that.
Does she plug into an amp or is it?
I believe she goes direct most of the
yeah.
time. Yeah, it's easy to do that because a lot of people on stage amps.
Yeah, I guess.
I try to be the only person who brings an amp, and it's already too big of an amp to do. So
That purple Fender in there?
Yeah, that purple hot rod, which I got in Boston from.
Yeah, I remember playing it.
Whatever the Guitar Center up there. That was
Daddy's.
Not Daddy's, no, which is not there anymore, right?
I think it's probably a Guitar Center by now, or maybe it's not.
Maybe it's a.
I haven't been there in like.
Maybe they've turned it into a. What do you like, Lululemon?
I haven't been to
Jamba
Boston
Juice?
in like 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, it's a liquor store now, probably. Anything you want to keep cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tnertle, Leah plays an iwi, and she plays alto sax, bari sax is really the main thing she's doing most of the time. We got a trumpet player named Alice, she's dope. The two of them play in a band together called Atomga, awesome Afrobeat, which I was never really exposed to much because I didn't realize, there's not a lot of guitar stuff in it, but the stuff that is based in Afrobeat and guitar is amazing.
Yeah.
It is the rhythmic aspects of it.
It's like the West African pop.
Yeah,
sound.
it's back to AJ. AJ kind of turned me onto that a little bit way back in the day. Of course, I was still like, prog, metal, fusion, so I didn't listen too much. But my mistake, that stuff is super. Just it's listenable. It's hard to play, so it's interesting. As a player to do it, but it's all pocket, it's all groove, and it's just I love that about it.
And repetition.
Repetition. Just, all the stuff about music that's supposed to be communal about it.
Yeah.
It's not just parts for the part of the player.
Yeah.
But we like I said, we kind of mix our sound up a lot. There's absolutely metal influence in parts of it. Trent, Kyle, and I are all kind of like rock guys. We all grew up around here in South Denver, so
you have a rhythm section, like drums, bass, guitar, and then Ableton.
Trent will run Ableton and do bass, and I actually play bass on a tune, and we'll do a little bit of switcheroo here and there. But for the most part, everyone kind of sticks with what they do. And rhythm sections, there's tracks. There's always tracks going. Except when the power dies, that has happened. And then we'll come back on. It's like, oh, good, we are on point. Because when your track dies and then comes back in your right place.
Yeah, or if you have computer problems, like
that could happen too.
Major, they could fuck a whole show.
So we've all, theoretically, a couple of our shows should have been fucked by that. Yeah. But they haven't been because I'm a professional. Fucking rise above it. Right? It's a fucking computer.
Just got fucking
play the
Spotify.
changes, mate. Play the fucking changes.
I mean, with guitar.
It is definitely a thing that, if it goes down, it's like, okay, keep floating, keep it going.
At least you have that to fall back on.
There have been moments where it's just me and Square, and then it comes back in. It's like, okay, there we are. That was nerve-wracking, because you just don't expect it after you're, working with the metronome a whole lot and working with something that consistent. But the advantage of doing that is that every show does have the chance to be like very fresh and kind of a new take for everybody. So we'll kind of toss solo sections back and forth. We might go, I'm going to double up on the melody with you guys, or we'll all hit one section in particular. And he's just such a master of the live Ableton rig scenario that it's just, okay, we're really hitting that pocket. We're just going to extend it. And for him, it's just a matter of click, click, bam, I've got it going. That live sampling thing, a lot of guys do. Eodo, Break Science does that. There's so many people can't even name.
It's just it seems like the perfect modern.
It's a great combination
adaptation. Of like where else would music go? What other direction?
That's
would
what I'm
music
saying.
go?
So kind of the teaching thing again. Like going back, I usually tell most students or try to get the point across that really music itself and the languages. There's nothing new about it for several 100 years. I mean, probably Bach, right?
Right.
I think Bach did it all as far as note names and in Western music and stuff. As we consider it, he's pretty much figured out all the theoretical stuff, right? So since then, it seems like it's just been instrumentation, innovation, which is consistently since the Beatles. We'll say I almost push it back to Django, since he was kind of the first guy to single line runs on shredding guitar parts. But really, it was first the Beatles changed the entire game with.
Well, and utilizing the multi-track process to get crazy and wacky in the studio. That was really a turning point, and that's reflected in the music of that era.
There's no new chord changes necessarily that you can write. There's no new melodies. There's no new notes. It's all the innovation beyond that.
And the visual aspect is a kind of a new thing.
Yeah, you have to do it. I feel like now
with lights or maybe a video projection or that's a part of.
The more multimedia, the more successful.
Exactly.
Or the more engaging.
And it's like now that's every single festival show you go to.
Right.
They've got the whole.
Yeah, technology is a big part of it, and it really, accelerated the pace of musical evolution. In a lot of ways, the way it sounds, what people like to listen to.
Yeah.
Every 10 years, it seems like, oh wow, if I'd have known 10 years ago that this would have been popular, and I'm sure it's been every time it's said. The kids now are going to say the same thing that we're starting to say, which is
it's
trippy,
it's just
right? Wow, we're getting old.
We're getting old.
It's like I'm not sure why is this popular? But everyone says that at some point about some style of music. There is stuff out here that is just. It's groundbreaking in its own right. It's just maybe not necessarily what is the mass consumptive populace agreement about what music should be. It's very dumbed down in a lot of ways.
That's true.
It wasn't as accessible because, again, the technology is just about anybody can, if they have the will and they put their time in, the technology is now available, and you don't need to know everything about how it was built and the analog aspects of it. It is very much, let me download these plugins.
Watch a couple of YouTube videos and you're good to go.
Hey, it is out there. The Black Mirror.
What is it like?
The power in the player's hand. If you want to do it, you can go out there and do it. And no one really needs someone else to show them how to do it because someone's putting it out there for you to find
already. Yeah,
you just have to dig. And not even that hard.
So when you're teaching teenage kids today, do they utilize all of the resources?
I always tell them to, and I think the majority of the time it's not that they're even thinking about utilizing the resource, it's that it is the way they are used to doing it. So it's not even that it's a resource, it's the standard.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember hitting pause 100 times and writing out lyrics or picking out each note in a section, or
listening to the radio for 5 hours to hear the new Megadeth
to get the new
whatever.
song, and you tape it
and tape it, or try to learn it as it's going by.
We had to work pretty hard to learn our shit. Now it's like, hey, how do I learn this song?
It's and it's not even that we worked harder. It's that we had to spend more time getting to the point where we had the opportunity to actually learn the music. Now you can look it up. If it's even remotely popular, even if it sucks and no one knows about it, all you got to know is the name of it. And
I remember even taking a hard stance on tab and being like, no tab. Tab is
right.
I won't do it.
Can't say that, in every scenario.
Give me the tab, man.
Well, no, here's the great thing, right? So, notation does everything on paper, except, especially for guitar players, except tell you where to put your fingers. And even if it does, it's not necessarily the right way to do it. And with any other instrument, for the most part, right, middle C is in one place. That's on arguably 6 places on guitar, and depending on the music you're writing or reading, rather, it can be an extremely labyrinthal scenario for anyone trying to sight read on guitar that's not already brought up on it. Which is,
isn't it funny
that's
too?
Rock and roll put a knife in that thing, because that is a shame.
Yeah.
But you still need to be able to do it. You still need to be able to read it, and you have to be able to say, okay, I understand what that means.
Yeah.
But almost nobody coming up, unless they have classical training, is going to be very fluent.
Sight reading and stuff.
It's a rough scenario with that, and especially if you're a guitar player, right?
The more I learn about music, the simpler it gets. If you can boil it down.
There's only 7 notes.
Yeah, I mean, really, that's I've spent years, my
it's
entire life.
Just whole steps and half steps.
And the more I get into it, the more I go.
That's what Danny Harrington said. When he said, I try to boil down my entire educational experience to the concept of you don't make it, Dorian. It is Dorian. I'm thank you and good night. It's a simple statement, but it really says most all of it.
Well, dude, it's been awesome hanging with you, man. Thanks for being on the show.
Next time between 2 mics, apart from facing 2 mics.
I come and see every time I'm in Denver, so I figured to put some microphones up this time.
Yeah, we got to do it next time. And actually, I'll maybe learn a song. Maybe we could just, I have some guitars. We should just Tenacious DJ.
Yeah. The next chapter of this podcast will be all about Tenacious D. How's that?
All right. First off, for any of you listeners that have not bailed out on this whole thing so far, by the end, there's a whole bunch of this that you're not going to hear.
Yeah.
Which is good. That's
probably the best parts. I'm going to cut it right out.
The best parts, you don't worry about that. Just come get fake doors. What are you worried for? But we are going to continue. This is part 1 in the series,
Part 1.
Because this Mr. Keithley, I appreciate you coming through and having
it's my pleasure,
having a discourse on a Sunday, and you're about to go off to the Fish show.
I gotta go see Fish.
You gotta go see Fish. You know what? I want to cast this tune. I want to cast Llama.
Okay,
what do you think about a bunch of teenagers playing Llama?
I love it, and I want it to happen.
All right, that's all I do. You send me that soundbite. That's all I need to know. Right?
That would be a great one for your student bands.
I think it's gonna happen. All right, here's the thing. You can only put so much Ween and Primus in a set list, all right?
Oh, yeah, you gotta balance that.
Well, you gotta have a little bit. All right, then there's the Slayer. We're gonna have at least one Slayer song.
It's just gonna happen.
All right.
Thanks again for being on, man.
Hey, brother. My pleasure.
All right. Take her easy.
I'll do what I can.
Hey, thanks again for listening. Find us on social media at GuitarCastPod and guitarcast.net. We'll see you next time.